Each character's face shows a mix of anger, fear, and confusion. Inside, the guests are engaged in an intense argument. The man in the tuxedo points an accusing finger at the host, while the woman in red is trying to calm him down. The woman in the yellow dress stands in front of the fireplace, holding a photograph in her hand. Her face is a mixture of rage and sorrow. She turns to confront the host, accusing him of betrayal. Her voice shakes as she reveals that he has been lying about everything, from the family connection to his intentions. The host's face hardens, and his eyes narrow. The other guests look at each other in shock, unable to believe what they're hearing. The host reveals that everything that has happened at the dinner, the arguments, the secrets, the confrontations, was part of a larger plan. A cozy, well-decorated living room at dusk. A large wooden table set for a dinner party, with sparkling wine glasses, fine china, and candles softly illuminating the room. A beautifully designed invitation sits on the table with golden lettering that reads, "A fateful dinner party." In the foreground, a woman in her mid-30s, elegant but casual, holds the invitation in her hand, her expression intrigued. She wears a blue dress, and her dark hair is neatly tied. Behind her, the cozy fireplace glows, and a tall window shows the evening sky. A grand front door opens, and guests are arriving in formal attire. There are three main characters: a well-dressed man in a black tuxedo, his posture confident but a little anxious. A woman in a red gown, elegant and poised, carrying a bottle of wine, and a younger man in a stylish suit, looking slightly out of place but eager to impress. Each of them stands at the threshold of the house, with a mix of excitement and curiosity in their eyes. The house is grand, with chandeliers and beautiful art adorning the walls. The host, a charismatic man in his early 40s, enters the room with a warm smile. He wears a well-tailored suit, dark hair neatly combed, and carries a tray of appetizers. He exudes confidence, yet there is something enigmatic about him. The other guests look at him curiously, sensing that something unusual is about to happen. A large chandelier casts soft light over the group, highlighting the host's commanding presence. The guests sit around a large, oval dining table. The table is beautifully set with plates of fine food, delicate wine glasses, and flowers. The host stands at the head, making a toast with a glass of wine in hand. A woman in a green dress to the left of the table listens intently, her eyes locked on the host. A man in a gray suit to her right nods along, laughing at a joke the host just told. In the background, a large window reveals a dark sky, adding a sense of mystery. The characters' expressions range from intrigue to slight discomfort. Two guests, a woman in a yellow dress and a man in a dark blue suit, are having a heated discussion. The woman looks frustrated, her eyebrows furrowed, while the man's face is tense, his hands clutched around his wine glass. The host watches them from a distance, his expression neutral but alert. The other guests seem uncomfortable, casting glances at each other. A beautiful chandelier glows above, casting shadows on the tense scene. The host stands, raising his hand to silence the conversation. The room quiets, and everyone looks toward him. He slowly sets down his glass of wine and reveals a secret: one of the guests is hiding something from the group. The guests are shocked, with wide eyes and open mouths. The young man in the suit, looking uneasy, shifts uncomfortably in his seat. The woman in the red gown holds her hands tightly in her lap, her face pale. A faint glow from the fireplace adds to the intensity of the moment, casting dramatic shadows over the room. The younger man stands in the corner, trying to stay out of the argument, his face a mix of confusion and fear. The host remains calm, watching them with a cool, almost indifferent expression. The room is filled with tension, the chandeliers above casting stark shadows on the scene. The door bursts open, and a new character enters the room. It's a woman in a sophisticated black dress, carrying an air of mystery. The guests are stunned into silence. She walks confidently into the room, her eyes scanning each face. The host's eyes widen slightly as he stands to greet her. The woman has a calm but determined presence, and the room feels charged with anticipation. The guests look from her to the host, sensing the tension between them. The guests stand in a circle, facing each other. The host, the new woman in black, and the rest of the characters are locked in a tense confrontation. Each character's face shows a mix of anger, fear, and confusion. The woman in the red gown clutches her wine glass, her face filled with disbelief. The man in the tuxedo leans forward, his fists clenched. The woman in the yellow dress stands with her arms crossed, trying to hold her emotions in check. The host stands at the center, unshaken, his gaze intense. The lighting is dim, with the fireplace casting long shadows. The guests are standing in the living room, their faces showing the weight of what's happened. Some look remorseful, others are deep in thought. The host has disappeared from the room, leaving a feeling of emptiness. A quiet stillness fills the air, and the fire in the fireplace is now dying down. The guests look exhausted, their expressions hollow. As if they've been forever changed by the events of the evening. The once lavish dinner table is now empty, with plates pushed aside and glasses half drunk. The final scene shows the host alone in a dark room, staring out of a window. The moonlight illuminates his face, revealing a thoughtful expression. He's wearing the same suit from the dinner, his hands folded behind his back. In the reflection of the window, we can see a faint outline of one of the guests walking away from the house. The host's gaze sharpens as if he's plotting something new. The scene feels quiet yet tense, and the mystery around the host deepens. A dimly lit hallway inside the house. At the end of the hallway, an old wooden door creaks open. A hidden room is revealed. Inside, there are stacks of old books, antique furniture, and a mysterious chest in the corner. The new woman in the black dress, whose identity is still unclear, stands in the doorway. Her silhouette is framed by the low light. She looks back toward the camera with a piercing gaze. Behind her, the shadows of old furniture create an eerie atmosphere. Her hand reaches for the chest, and her expression holds a secret that has yet to be discovered. A younger version of the host, in his 20s, sitting alone at a grand dining table. The setting is the same house, but the atmosphere is brighter, more hopeful. The young host looks at an old photo frame in his hands, his face serious and contemplative. In the background, a large portrait of a woman, possibly his mother, hangs on the wall. The room is bathed in warm sunlight, but there's a shadow lurking in the corner, foreshadowing the dark path he will eventually take. The young host is dressed simply, his hair slightly longer, lost in thought. Back at the dinner table, the woman in the red gown suddenly stands, trembling, and addresses the guests. She holds an old letter in her hand, which she slowly opens and reads aloud. Her face is pale, and her voice quivers as she reveals a shocking secret. She is related to the host. A family connection is exposed. The room goes quiet, and all eyes turn toward the host, who is now standing at the center of the table. His expression shifts from calm to tight-lipped. The woman in the yellow dress looks between them in disbelief. The man in the tuxedo leans forward, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. A storm rages outside, and the wind howls through the house. Inside, the guests are engaged in an intense argument. The man in the tuxedo points an accusing finger at the host, while the woman in red is trying to calm him down. The younger man in the suit steps back, his face tense with fear, as the host stands firm, unshaken. The atmosphere is charged, and the tension is almost palpable. The storm outside mirrors the emotional storm in the room. The chandelier above flickers as if reflecting the chaos below. A guest, the younger man in the suit, runs toward the front door. His face is filled with panic, sweat dripping down his forehead. His hand is on the doorknob, but his eyes glance back toward the room where the other guests are still arguing. The house feels oppressive, with shadows stretching across the floor, and the wind from outside howling through the cracks of the door. The younger man's expression is a mix of fear and desperation. The woman in the yellow dress stands in front of the fireplace, holding a photograph in her hand. Her face is a mixture of rage and sorrow. She turns to confront the host, accusing him of betrayal. Her voice shakes as she reveals that he has been lying about everything, from the family connection to his intentions. The host's face hardens, and his eyes narrow. The other guests look at each other in shock, unable to believe what they're hearing. The room is dimly lit, with the fire casting flickering shadows on the walls, symbolizing the breaking of trust and the unmasking of hidden motives. The host reveals that everything that has happened at the dinner, the arguments, the secrets, the confrontations, was part of a larger plan. He stands tall, looking at each guest with a cold, calculating expression. The woman in the black dress is revealed to be working with him all along, her secretive behavior now making sense. The guests are stunned, their faces a mixture of disbelief and betrayal. The storm outside rages, and the room feels claustrophobic. The guests are trapped in this web of deceit. The host calmly explains that the dinner party was never about food or wine, it was about revealing the truth. The woman in the red gown, her face filled with resolve, steps forward and faces the host directly. She challenges him, asking why he orchestrated this entire event. The host, unfazed, offers her a chilling answer. The camera zooms in on their faces, highlighting the tension and the final decision that each character must make. The storm outside is at its peak, symbolizing the impending clash. The final scene shows the empty dining room. The table, once filled with guests, is now barren, with only half-filled glasses and scattered crumbs. The house is eerily quiet. The storm outside has stopped, and the morning light starts to filter in through the windows. A single chair is overturned, and the chandelier casts long shadows on the floor. The camera pans slowly across the room, highlighting the remnants of the dinner party.